Hello. Your gut is your second brain. Did you know that? In today's live session, I'll be talking about the intricate connection between your gut health and your mental and emotional well being, right? Your brain, actually, and the microbes, the trillions of microbes that reside in your gut in a beautifully managed ecosystem, and the major role that they play again in your overall health, especially your mental and emotional health. So if you like this session, the discussion, where I take you through some of these very important parts of our health and well-being, then make sure that you use the link that I've shared below to read the rest of the blog post. This is from this week's blog post, and share this video with people that you think would benefit from hearing this. So the first thing that I want to cover today is to sort of bring out the connection that your gut plays, or the connection that your gut has with your brain, right? So there is a gut-brain axis vis-a-vis which the communication happens between your gut to your brain and from your brain to your gut. And actually, it might surprise you to know that most of the communication is from your gut to your brain. And why would that be, right? It's because your gut plays an important role in informing the brain about what's happening in your environment, right? So when anything that comes in through your mouth, food, and anything else that comes in with the food gives your body a lot of information, right? And you may not look at it that way, but food is not just calories, it is also information. So it brings a host of information about what's going on and what each and every cell in the body needs to perform optimally. And in the absence of this, also, sort of what we can do about it. And of course, if it happens for a long period of time, then we suffer the consequences, right, of not having the right ingredients. But it's more today's what I wanted to highlight, and what I'm writing about in a series of posts, is more about our mental and emotional well-being, I think, which has taken a kind of battering in this year due to this pandemic that's still raging on, and why we need to be much more circumspect and careful about what we put in our mouth. It has always been important, but in today's world, it is much more important that the foods that you put in your mouth nourish not only your body but also your brain, because that's going to affect your mental and emotional health, right? And whether we are able to manage your stress or anxiety or your moods, that will determine, right, what is the outcome. So the gut-brain axis, as I mentioned, is the communication pathway. It's a very important pathway where the gut, communicates with the brain and vice versa. And as I said, the majority of the communication is in fact from the gut to the brain. What happens is that there are trillions of microbes, which I mentioned, which reside in your gut. And they, along with the cells of your intestinal lining, they create signaling molecules which basically are which send messages to the brain, right? And also the other very important factor, and as I mentioned in the beginning, that the reason we call the gut our second brain is simply because the presence of the sensory neurons in our gut, right? They would not be present, and in fact we have as many neurons in our gut as we have in our spinal cord. And there has to be a reason for that. And the reason for that is this again, that our gut is not just an organ where we digest our food. It does much more besides that. It plays the role of a second brain in letting our body know, letting our brain know what's happening and what needs to be done. For example, some of the things that, and the way it does is with the help of these trillions of microbes, especially the bacteria which are present in your gut, right? And the role that they play is that they create some of the neurotransmitters. So the neurotransmitters that you would have heard of, like serotonin, dopamine, are not only created in the brain, they are also created in your gut. So another very important reason why you need to focus on your gut health, right? So some of the neurotransmitters are produced, some vitamins are produced, including vitamin B12. and some bile acids, lactase enzyme. So there are, and many more, right? So there are many different functions, including a very important immune function, which I'm not going to be getting into in this particular session, but I will be covering in another separate post altogether. But all of these play critical role in your mental and emotional well-being, right? And while I have been focusing on the building, creating emotional resiliency in a series of live sessions that I have been doing, I have chosen to also focus on what we need to do in terms of our food, in terms of our lifestyle going forward, right? So as I mentioned, this is going to be a series of posts and live sessions on this particular topic, right? So gut health, because in order to improve your mood, you will need to focus on your gut. And food, of course. So food plays a critical role, right? Because food, as I mentioned, is also information. So it actually speaks to the DNA in each and every one of your cells, and either turns them off or on, which means that either you move towards health or you move towards disease. So again, one compelling reason why the food that you put in your mouth is so important to determine what your health outcome is going to be, right? And what your gut health is going to be. And depending on your gut health, what your overall health and emotional, mental well-being, which I'm talking about today, is going to be. So the few things that I have discussed today are that there is an intricate connection between your gut health and your mental and emotional well-being. The second thing is that there is an ecosystem of trillions of microbes in your gut, which play, which have a symbiotic relationship with us, which has evolved over millions of years. So they play a very important role in our overall health, especially in our mental and emotional well-being, once again, through the gut-brain axis. So it's actually a gut-brain microbiome axis in that matter. And the last but not the least is the food that plays a critical role. So what food you put in your mouth will also determine the outcome of your overall health, especially that of your mental and emotional health. So in a time when we are dealing with so much of stress, we are dealing with so much of anxiety, there are increasing rates of depression, etc. This is an area that we will need to focus on. So from the inside out. So if you liked what I had to say today, make sure that you read the rest of the blog post where I discuss this in details, and sign up for the newsletter on the page itself, so that you don't miss out on the series of posts I'm going to be writing on this topic. Because in the next post, I will be discussing on specific foods that you should include in your meals to ensure that your mood is upbeat and you can take care of your emotional health as well, right? It's not just about physical health. And of course, it's not about just you, it's about your children, it's about your family. And these are just some of the simple ways that we can take care of ourselves, right? We don't need to look much far outside of ourselves. There's so many things that are in our control, if only we know where to look and where to start. So I'm going to make it as simple and as effortless as for you as possible in providing the information. It is of course up to you what you want to do with it. So tune in for the next live session again next Friday at 12. If there's any change, I will let you know, because I think it's Ashtami that day. But in any case, make sure that you check out the link and go through the full blog post to get more details, and drop in a comment, right? Share with your friends.